In this video, we're going to be talking about how to evaluate piecewise functions. So in the first example, you'll notice that you're given a piecewise function, and then off to the side, we have several things that we're looking for answers. So the first one is f of -5. Now your job is to figure out, well, which piece of the piecewise function do I use? The top one or the bottom one? To help you figure that out, you need to start by looking at the restrictions. So if I've got -5, I'm thinking in my head, is -5 less than or equal to 1? Or is -5 greater than 1? So hopefully everybody's saying, well, it's the top one. The top one is true. So whichever one is true, that tells you which piece you're going to use. So we're going to use the top piece. So now we're going to look to the left, and on the top you got 3x minus 1. So just plug in -5 for x. So you got 3 times -5 minus 1, which gives me -16. F of 3. Well, that's when you have to come back over here and you have to think, all right, is 3 less than or equal to 1? Or is 3 greater than 1? And hopefully this time everybody's going to say the bottom. 3 is larger than 1. So we're looking at 1 minus 2x. Plug in 3 for x. And you get 1 minus 2 times 3, which gives me -5. The next one, f of 1. So you come back over here, and if I plug 1 in for each x, this time 1 is not less than 1, but does everybody see that the top one has the or equals to bar? So that means it could equal 1. So in this case, the top one is true because 1 does equal 1. So now you're looking at 3x minus 1. Plug 1 in for x. So you got 3 times 1 minus 1, which gives me 2. Now the fourth one here, this one is a little bit different because if you notice on how it's typed, it starts out by saying f of x equals 0. So I'm not giving you the number you're plugging in for x. I'm giving you the answer, right? So to figure this out, what I would do is I would just take 3x minus 1 and set it equal to 0. Or it could be the bottom one. Take 1 minus 2x and set it equal to 0. So our job is to solve each one of these. And remember, we're setting it equal to 0 because that's what it tells me in the problem, f of x equals. And then we're going to figure out which one's true. So on the first one, move the -1 over by adding it. And then divide by 3. So we get x equals 1/3. On the second one, move the 1 over and it becomes a negative. Divide by -2 and you get positive 1/2. So on the top one, we're looking at, well, we're saying x is 1/3. So if I put that in the restriction, 1/3 is less than or equal to 1. Or the second one over here, if I put 1/2 in for x on its restriction, I have 1/2 is greater than 1. Well, which one of these is true? Only one of them's true. So hopefully everybody says, oh, well, the first one is true and the second one is false. So that means we're not using the second one at all. We're going to use the first one. And we are saying that the answer for x is 1/3. So looking at our second example here, f of 10. Well, if I come over here and I plug 10 in, is 10 less than 2? Nope, that's false. Is 2 less than or equal to 10, which is less than 8? Well, no, that's false too. Oh no, what happens? Neither piece is true. So if neither one is true, that means there is no solution for this problem. It is not possible to figure out what f of 10 equals. The middle one, f of negative 1 plus f of 4. So let's start with f of negative 1. So you would plug that in on the top one because negative 1 is less than 2. So that would give me negative 1 squared minus 2, which would give me 1 minus 2, which is negative 1. Now do the second half of that problem with f of 4. Well, 4, you're going to notice that 2 is less than or equal to 4, which is less than 8. So this time we're going to plug it into the bottom one. So 1/2 times 4 plus 1. So that's going to give me 2 plus 1, which is 3. Now, what am I going to do with these two answers? Well, if you look at the problem up above, it says plus. So now just add your two answers together, and the final one is 2. So now pause the video and take a minute and try this third one by yourself. And I am so sorry if you can hear that. That happens to be my daughter upstairs screaming very loudly by playing with our dog. So do apologize for that. Subtract these two. And unfortunately, there is no pause option on the video, so you will just have to listen to that. And apologies again. So now if we look at the last one, f of x equals 7. And this time we have to plug in each one for 7 at the answer spot. So x squared minus 2 equals 7. So add that over and we get x squared equals 9. And then square root it, so we get x equal plus or minus 3. And then on the second one, you're going to say 1/2 x plus 1 equals 7. So 1/2 x equals 6. Multiply both sides by 2, so you get x equals 12. Well, x equals 12, that does not work on either one of them, so it's false. So now I'm looking at positive 3 and negative 3. Well, if I look at the negative 3, and positive 3, one of those is true. So now let's figure out which one is true. So remember, we were plugging this in the top one. So is positive 3 less than 2? It is not. But is negative 3 less than 2? And you're going to say, it sure is. So then that means my answer for x is negative 3. Now the last example, this comes from a graph instead of equation. So f of 1. What you're going to do is you're going to find 1 on the x-axis, and you're going to go till it hits the graph. Now remember, we don't want to go up because open circles don't count. So instead, I'm going to go down and I'm going to hit it a closed circle. And then I'm going to go across and I'm going to say, well, what is its y number? And the y number for that one is negative 1. So please remember, open circles do not count. So don't follow the graph up. F of 0. Well, 0 is right here in the middle. I'm going to follow it down until it hits my line. And that happens to also be right at the y number of -1. F of -1. We'll find -1 on the x-axis, follow that down till it hits my line, follow it across, and you're going to notice that's at -3. Now this time, f of x equals -7. So this time, instead of giving you the x number, I'm telling you the y number is -7. And your job is to figure out the x number. So this time, find -7 on the y, follow it across till it hits my line, and then follow it up to find the x number, which is -3. So remember this one, it means y is equal to -2. So find -2 on the y, follow it across till it hits my line. And then I'm going to go up. So the one on the left is going to be at -0.5. And then you notice that if you also go to the right side, it's going to hit your graph. Follow that up and you will have 1.5. So this one has two answers. Take a minute, pause the video, and you try this one by yourself. So hopefully you came up with these same answers. Thanks for viewing.